Welcome back to the workshop, and we're back on the FL5 again this week. So if you saw last week's video, I mentioned there the car is going to be going over to the Essen motor show. So there's a couple of things I wanted to get checked out on the car, as when I've been driving recently, I've been getting a little bit of binding and pulling to the right-hand side. So it's time to look over the big AP calipers and try and clear out some of the dust that would have accumulated behind the caliper and the pads. So once we've finished up with the brakes, we're going to be jumping back into the car and having a look at the hybrid racing short shifter to see if the cross compatibility of a left-hand drive shifter is going to work in our right-hand drive car. So I just mentioned that we've had a little bit of brake bind on the front of the FL5 Civic. Just felt like something was grabbing on the right-hand side, particularly down a motorway. You can feel the steering just pulling off to the right. So I've had a look at the car over the weekend. I've cleaned up on the driver's side already. I thought I'd bring the camera in to show you guys exactly what we're looking at here. And if you wanted to do this on your FL5, FK, or even FK2 with the standard brakes, there's absolutely no harm in knocking the pins out and just cleaning up on the contact areas where the pad sits and around the back of the piston. There's no harm in getting the brakes working that little bit more efficiently. So on this particular job, on the AP calipers, again, like the Brembo, it's very simple. We've got two Allen keys here to undo, and once we get these out of the way, we'll be able to take the two plates out and remove the pads. So with the pads out of the way, we can start to see what we're going to be working on now. You can see the pistons around the back here, they've got quite a bit of brake dust build up. So we're going to get them cleaned up, but you can see that we've had a lot of heat. All the paint has been flaking off the back of the pads. And if you've seen some of the previous videos of the car, you'll know that the brakes have definitely been used on this one. So to start off with, I'm going to pump out the brake pedal just to get the pistons to come out that little bit further, and we'll be able to see exactly what we're cleaning up. So you can see now, once it's got the pistons pushed out a little bit, you can see the actual build-up of the dirt on the front of the piston there. So I simply just use a screwdriver just to remove some of the heavier marks, and then we'll go around with a light bit of scotch or some brushes. We'll also blow this out with some air, just to make sure that everything is real nice and clean before it goes back together. So you can already start to see some of the difference from the side that I've just cleaned up there. What I'll do now is I'll put the brake pad back into place, I'll pump the pedal again to get this side out, and I can start cleaning up on the other side. So whilst the brake pads are out, I'm going to check for any cracking across the surface area of the brake pad. We know that we've had a lot of heat through these, so we just want to check for any fatigue. Also, whilst the pad's here, I'm going to scrape through the runners on the side just to make sure that we've got no excessive brake build up there. And then just on the edge of the pad, not sure if you're going to pick it up on the camera, but we can have you can see a little bit of a lip there that's started to appear, which where the brakes are starting to wear is just a bit of wear and tear. So I will take that lip off ever so slightly with a file just to resurface and make the pads nice and fresh again. Just finished cleaning on the pistons now, but one particular area where you're going to want to pay attention to if you're doing this on the standard Brembos is where the pads sit on the top and the bottom. I did a set of brakes on an FK8 this morning, discs and pads, and the pads were nearly seized solid into the Brembos. So if you're ever doing a quick oil change on the car, it's not going to hurt just to knock the wheels off and give the brakes a little clean up. Finished up on the brakes now, so I'm just going to get the wheels bolted on and we'll get inside the car to have a look at the short shifter. So moving on to the interior now, I've had a quick look at the hybrid shifter over the weekend when I had the car on the ramp initially. I was struggling to get fitted, so I've had the OEM unit out of the car and compared it against the hybrid shifter. And when I line up the two bolt holes, you'll see that from the new shifter and the base of the original shifter, they look good. So was it just something I was doing? So we're gonna have another little look at it now and see, can we get this into a right-hand drive car? So I've got the shifter semi-mounted into the car, I've got the two front bolts in, but the rears look like they're a good 5 to 10 mil out. I'd probably say closer to 10 mil at the moment. But if we push it across, it does look like they're going to line up. So I'm going to speak to the guys at Hybrid and see what they want to do about this, whether there's a revision to be made or if this is how the product should be. So I managed to get another fixing into the back corner. I've got two on the front already, but I couldn't get one into the final position. Probably means that we're going to need to revise the locations for the right-hand drive model as opposed to the left-hand drive. But for now, it's pretty secure. Doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere. So we'll get this bolted up and see if it's collecting all the gears for us. Got the cables fitted back up and the wiring has clicked into the little brackets that it needed to. So at the moment, other than the bolt hole down the bottom, it's looking good. So we're going to get the trim back on top now and see how we're going to get the correct location for the right-hand drive shifter. So at the moment, with the trim piece put back on, the shifter looks like it's sitting pretty central. So once we put the top half of the shifter on, we're just going to need to set our position as to where we want the gear stick. And I would imagine we'll aim for it in the middle to start with. And we'll see if we go across the gate and get all the gears. So it looks good to me. Other than that bolt that we spoke about previously, it's selecting all the gears, it's not hitting any of the trim, so I think we're 99% there. So that just about rounds us up for this week. We've had a look over the AP brakes and got them cleaned up before the long road trip over to Germany. We've had a look at the hybrid racing short shifter to make sure that we can get that fitted into the right-hand drive cars. If you're enjoying some of the FL5 content from us, think about hitting the subscribe button, as up next, we've got the full Venturi test. We've got the full turbo tube and intake going to be tested on our dyno. And speaking of which, if you're at Essen next week, go and check out the car in person for yourself and have a look at the build so far. As always, give the video a like and leave us a comment below.